Well, happy Friday, everyone. I'm excited. This morning, my younger one had a poetry reading at school on this Friday. So it was the Star Books Cafe, which was super cute. So that was how I started my Friday, which was really super cute. My son wore a suit. I will post a picture later, but it was so cute. How about you? How is your Friday?
Doing well. I just got off of a board meeting for the Pennsylvania Psychological Association. I'm the secretary on the board of directors right now. So taking all the minutes, and we have a convention next week in King of Prussia. So it's really exciting.
That is exciting. Okay, well, that sounds like I feel like I need to introduce you to make sure that.
Yes.
So today I'm here with Julie Ridico. Did I say that right?
You got it.
Who is I'm going to read this so I can make sure I get it right. A licensed clinical psychologist, board certified in clinical health psychology, and is the owner and chief executive officer of Radico Psychological and Consultation Services, where she provides one-on-one coaching and therapy teleservices to professional women. So probably that professional women is when you heard like, oh yeah, this is why she and Sarah are talking, and you were
Mhm.
right. So do you want to share any more about yourself, Julie?
Just that I think we are very much aligned. My mission is to support women. And we live and work in societies where we're constantly given messages that we are not enough in different kinds of ways. And just to, through my speaking, my writing, coaching, therapy, all the things that I do, one of the things that I really just want people to know is that you are more than enough. And the subtle, like the covert and sometimes the overt messages that you are getting that you are trying to convince you that you're less than in some type of way are just not true. It is the system's way of benefiting from you feeling like you're not enough, and that it's not a fact. It's not true.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that and feel that so deeply, right? Because I do think particularly women get these messages, right? About whether it's their body, whether it's about, what they can do in a workforce, like what kind of mom they are. Like, yeah, I hear you. Those messages are like deep, deeply,
Mhm.
like, yeah, in so many systemic ways. Okay, I want to talk more about this. But just in case you don't know me, if you just, I don't know, showed up here and you don't know who I am, I'm just gonna, which would be kind of random, but I love it. I'm Sara Madera. I am the founder of Plan Creatively, and I'm a career coach for working moms. So I work with women to create success across their lives, right? Because life is only so fun. You're like incredibly successful at work, but your family isn't so strong, or opposite, or your family's super strong, but you're not really happy in your career. So we want to make sure that we create success across that, and as well as be present, right? We want to be present and enjoy our kids, be present, and hopefully enjoy work as well. And also still find time for yourself. I know it sounds impossible, but it is not. Okay, so let's dive right in. Okay, one of the things I think is really fun about Instagram and the virtual world is figuring out like how people get connected and how they actually get to know each other in this like really huge giant platform. So
Mhm.
maybe Julie, you want to share like how you and I got connected?
Yeah, so I did a presentation for the professional service group of Mercer County, and they are a fantastic group. And there's a wonderful human named David Schuckman, is how I'm going to say it. And he connected us after seeing me present and being like, who would be a fantastic connection for you and your missions align is Sarah. And I was like, well, tell me more. And so that's how we connected, and just like this fantastic synergy has happened from then.
Yes, so true. I have also presented for the PSG in Mercer County at the Princeton Library, and so I'm so glad that David introduced us, and he was so right on. And then, like as soon as we met, I felt like, oh yes, you're like Julie is my people. Like we can definitely have some interesting conversations.
Yep.
Uh, so glad to have everyone like join in and see that today. So all right, well let's get into it then and get into all the interesting conversations that you and I already have, and we can share now with others. In terms of the work that you do with women, what are some of the big topics that women come to you and you discuss?
Yeah, fantastic question. So big themes are perfectionism,
Mm,
um, people pleasing,
mm,
this idea of I have to be constantly achieving things and getting like gold stars, and like that is how I define my worth.
mm,
And another big one is just this pervasive theme, and this is sort of where part of my mission comes from, of like supporting women. Like I hear often these feelings of being like professionally gaslit, just like, is
mm,
it me? am I crazy? Am I the problem in the system? Am I the one who's like, is it me? And just the way the the crappy stuff that happens in the places that we work because everybody's trying to protect themselves and systems are out to make money and to, not necessarily keep you healthy and balanced as they're doing that. It leaves people in this space of, am I the problem? And it's like, oh, I just want to like come in and gently but firmly shake people and go, you are not the problem. Yes, we
Mhm.
are not perfect. We bring all our own stuff.
Yeah.
But if every single woman in a system or every single person of, beautiful, complex, intersectional identities is feeling less than, then it's not a you problem. That's a systemic issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so, I want to say poignant, but I don't know if that's exactly the right word I'm waiting, but I hear you. And I feel like I have these same conversations. And also, I mean, I love everything that you said, but particularly the conversation about like productivity, like equaling
Mhm.
self-worth is, I feel like something I've been hearing a lot more of recently, whether or not in terms of people describing themselves as like people who get stuff done. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of women, because we do, sort of describes ourselves that way, which is great, but also sort of leaves out the not only the strategy piece of what we're doing, but also that our self-worth isn't tied to that, right? That we
Mhm.
are more than what it is that we do or produce, in any particular moment. So, oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. So in terms of that, in terms of some of these topics, what are some of the challenges that come from these topics? Like what happens because people are having these issues or having
Mhm.
themes?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I find is that people, it's connected to that like feeling professionally gaslit sort of thing. Like people come away questioning whether or not they're qualified. Like, are they qualified for a position? Are they qualified for a raise? Are they qualified to be a leader? If you don't fill the full requirements of a position, there's some research out there that says if a woman looking at a application might feel like they need to have 10 out of 10 of the things that they're asking for, whereas somebody from a male gender identity might be like, oh, I've got 6 out of 10. I'm
Mm-hmm.
in pretty good shape. And that again, if every single, or not every, but like if most women, or like what they study, the majority of women in these like research studies, if that is a pervasive feeling, then that's not, again, it's not a you problem. It's a system problem.
Mm-hmm.
um, but just like the work to family conflicts, the conversations of like, how do I prioritize my career and how do I advance my career if I'm also like needing to get everything done, like you're saying, like you can and you're capable, but sometimes that comes at a really severe cost to your
Yeah.
mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. And then just like I'll end here with, the internalizing the negative messages that we hear around us, that these sort of like microaggressions that happen, and that could be being talked over in a meeting, that could
Mm-hmm.
be someone being like, oh, why did you say it that way, you could have said it nicer, and it's like, why did I have to say it nicer? What is wrong with, is it something with me, am I the problem? And it's like, no, 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 you're not. But so we could talk about this for hours. I'll close it up there.
And I do think I'm sort of feeling this shift as well, right? I feel like even 2 years ago, excuse me, when I had women who were sort of in those situations, they were, looking for other workplaces. They were like, where can I find a culture that is more supportive, more welcoming, that will allow me to like be my whole self, right? Bring my whole self to work. And in the last 2 years, that's just sort of like tapered off. And particularly now, in this moment where we are, with the marketplace being as tough as it is, let alone like unstable as it is, less of that, right? In terms of women wanting to find a different workplace, or not to say even that they don't want to, but because of the workforce conditions in terms of the market. There we go. They're feeling stuck, and I'm hearing a lot more of feeling stuck, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be looking for a job right now. Just because there's not as many jobs, it's really hard to get one, and they're not really sure how to move forward based on kind of feeling stuck in their job, but also not being happy in their job.
Yep.
And so what that actually looks like. And so they're starting to adjust, their plans, their timelines, their strategies. And that has been really interesting to see. I'll just say that. I have lots of feelings about it, but I'm just going to go with interesting because that describes them,
Yeah.
as much as I can. Okay.
Yeah.
If women are sort of, facing these challenges that you and I are discussing, but are feeling stuck, what are some of the options they have to continue to move forward in their career, even if they, aren't feeling like this is the time to get a new role?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fantastic question because it's so true that the world is the world right now. And I, I feel like everybody's gonna be like, enough said. You don't need to say anything more. uh, so things that I encourage people to think about are who are your communities for support? If you're feeling stuck, like who can you reach out to get support from? And that might be communities of people who you're like your coworkers. That might be people who are further along in a system who might mentor you. That
Mm-hmm.
might be people who are in the system who are you don't have like very close ties to, but they sort of know you and they're your potential sponsors. They're the people who can like say your name in rooms where it happens. And all of those might align in this idea of wanting to, if you're like, I'm going to stick it out where I am, but I am spinning my wheels here and I could do so much more or I deserve more. That aligns with promotion, like using that community. And I say using in like you're giving and taking, but like harnessing your community for and your mentors and sponsors to help you figure out and demystify the promotion process where you are.
Yes, I love that. I love how you talk about connection and the give and take of it, right? And how, important and fulfilling that is just like on a normal, like mental health basis, right? Like you be able to have a place where where you feel normal, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Loves. And, in terms of like, hopefully those people love and support you, not only personally, but also professionally, right?
Yeah.
And I like how you talk about getting promoted, because it really might be the right mix of opportunities, new opportunities, as well as stability right now.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so in terms of talking about promoted, do you have any tips on how to get promoted if this is going to be someone's strategy, of how to continue moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. So my go-to strategy is to work backwards. Some people might be like, what is she talking about? So um, so I used to work in a hospital system and I went from an assistant professor to an associate professor. And how I did that, because it took years
Mm-hmm.
of figuring out what are all the requirements and you have to put together a dossier, y'all. Ugh. It's doable, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage is sort of the mindset I had is, okay, where do I need to be? And how do I work backwards then to map out what are all the things? Every time I think about, well, to get promoted, you need to have a dossier. And to have a dossier, you need to have stuff in that dossier. And then so it means you need to have like certain criteria in that, like in different service and clinical and education categories. And then, okay, well, then how do you get things that count in those categories? So literally like drawing a map and having big touch points and then going in and like identifying what are the smaller steps, like the medium sized steps and the smaller steps to break down something where you're like, Julie, that's a in academics, that's a maybe 4, 5, 6 year process. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
that feels overwhelming. How
Mm-hmm.
can you then go, well, here are the, you know, 1 year processes for each of those things, and then even more, here are the 6 month processes, the 3 month and like then the what are you doing on a day-to-day or weekly basis, like breaking it down so you don't feel overwhelmed. Work backwards and break it down to bite-sized doable kinds of things.
Yeah, I love that, right? Because I don't know why it makes me think about balance, which is a weird, complicated way to talk about it. But, that sort of way of like, how can I move towards my goal today? Right. Like have the plan. And then it's like, okay, what small step can I take today? What will move me closer to my goals today? I love, in terms of, because most of us need a strategy, right? Of how to get there, right? Depending on what your criteria is, right? Whether it's, kind of having people know your name, right? Or whether that is like working on cross-functional projects. Okay, if that's the case, how am I going to do that? If it's about having people know my name. How am I going to get to know them, right? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? I think those are great ideas. I also like to add in messaging as well, because I think being able to communicate what you're good at and where you're headed is important. That helps people like have buy-in, right? Like hear that and they want to support you because I know what it is you're headed towards, right?
Yeah.
As well as, I think visibility, I mentioned that, right? Again, people need to know your name so they can talk about you in rooms that you're not in. And yes, those not only cross-functional projects, but those cross-functional relationships. It's not just people in your own stream that know your name, but make sure these other people in these other lines of businesses also know your name. Again, to help speak positively in rooms that you are not in. So like Julie said, depending on where you are, there may be a promotional cycle or certain timings to these things, right? Like some large companies, they only have promotional cycles like once or twice a year. I mean, obviously in academics, it's a years and years long process. Oh my goodness, that sounds complicated, but that is okay, right? Like this is about creating the plan, building the foundation so that you can start to plant those seeds. Almost like, what is that movie? Like Inception, right? Like putting that in people's minds that this is where you're going and that they can help. You there, but how, like, what does your plan look like so that they know how to help you? Okay, yeah, starting with those big milestones and zooming into the smaller steps. Okay, so all right, those were all of my big questions for you today. Do you have any other questions or any other topics you want to talk about before our big announcement?
No, I think I'm ready for our big announcement.
So I'm so excited to everyone who's here today, which I know we have just a few, but that's cool. We're going to keep this recorded and post it up so people can watch it, at their leisure. But a really exciting, Julie and I, like we said, we're really excited to work together. We align so well. And so we have such a good time that we have a really exciting announcement for something to share. Julie, do you want to tell us more?
Sure. Yeah. Sarah and I are going to be giving a workshop, an interactive workshop on, I'm going to get the date right here. I'm going to look to make sure, July 17th at 12 o'clock Eastern. So it'll be for an hour and a half. And we are going to build more on the topics that we've touched on today, really trying to break down and demystify how might you advance your career if you're feeling like you need to move forward and where you're planted right now.
Yes, I love that. Exactly. This workshop I'm so excited about getting promoted because I do feel like this is such an important topic that people are talking about right now. And so we'll dive into address some of those obstacles. Julie has so much fantastic research that she can share with us about some of those systemic issues that women kind of come up to butt heads with, particularly in a promotion cycle or in a corporation, as well as, how to communicate what it is, again, that you want and put together a strategy. And we'll do that actually within the session to start building your strategy so that when you come out of it, you are like, I have a plan. I know where I'm going. And hopefully it won't take years like in academics and hopefully it'll be a much shorter process, but it depends on your industry. So after this slide, we're going to post the link to sign up. And we really hope that you will join us in July. I know some people, really want to take the summer off. Others are like, oh, let me put in my plans, so that I'm ready for the fall. If that second one is you, then you are people, and we hope that you will sign up before June 30th. You can take advantage of our early bird special for $10 off. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us, and we hope to see you on July 17th.
Yay!
Awesome. All right, Julie, well, have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
The rest of your Friday, and I can't wait until July 17th.
Woo!
Take care.